After 93 minutes of knocking on Hull City's door, Boro finally found a breakthrough with the last kick of the game, sending Boro 5th and the away end into raptures. Trust me, believe it or not, I was there. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Project Boro Reviewing Show. And yes, the curse is lifted, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, after going on the road and watching Boro numerous times a season, I'm not going to pretend I go to every away game, but I go to a handful every single season. I have done since 2014, pretty much just over a decade. I have never seen Boro win in the league away from home. The one caveat was I did see us win at Old Trafford in the Cup a few years ago, but I didn't even buy them tickets. They were gifted to me in some of the craziest circumstances given to me by Anthony Dykesteel's dad. That's a long story for another time. But this was the first time I've seen Boro win in the league, in the flesh, on the road, and it could not have been in a better way, in a better manner than a 93rd minute winner at the death. At the end, at the Boro end, with the fans in that incredible away end. And yes, there'll be a full vlog uploaded with all the bits and bobs at some point over the next day or two. But this wasn't just a 1-0 win that Boro edged. They nicked it at the end despite being the second best team, or edged it in a tight game. Especially given the second half, this was everything Boro deserved. This was everything that we deserved from the game at the very least, because we'll talk about the first half as well, but especially the second half, it was pure Boro dominance. And I thought to myself, stood in that away, and I've been to Rotherham away last season when they scored from a cross. I've been to so many where I've come away thinking, how on earth have Boro not won that game? And I was so close to thinking the same again. But thankfully, at the death, we found a way through, and it gets us up to 5th. And as I say, on the balance of play, on the game itself, everything that Boro deserved. But let's start with the lineup then before we delve deep into the game. And there were a few changes in there, a few that I thought might be the case, but I wasn't expecting a completely changed left-hand side, I'll be absolutely honest. But one thing I completely forgot about in my preview, and I'll hold my hands up to saying, completely forgot about Rav Vandenberg being back for this one. I just assume, I think, with Boro's injury record, that whenever a player is out of the side, we won't see them for a whole calendar year. Didn't realise that, of course, Rav Vandenberg would be straight back in today instead of George Edmondson, with his suspension now done and dusted. So he joined Dale Fry back in the heart of Boro's defence. But there was a change, as I mentioned, down the left-hand side. We still had Barlasser and Hackney in the middle. Of course, we don't have any other options. Johnny Howson was there. He was there at Hull. He was there tonight. He was actually with us all in the away end, starting chance. It was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, kudos to our club captain for getting in amongst the Boro fans in the away end and getting involved with all the chants and stuff. So he wasn't actually on the pitch, but he was there with us in the away end. But the big change came down the left-hand side. Lucas Engel started for the first time in, I think, the very, very beginning of the season, and Riley McGree was in front of him. And I did say in the preview when discussing Boro's potential 11, there's two combinations for me, and you can't play them any other which way. It's either Engel and McGree or Bergzorg and Borges. And I wasn't surprised to see Engel and McGree start. And then I wasn't surprised to equally see when McGree went off, Engel went off, Borges come on, Bergzorg come on. So there's clearly two different duos on the left-hand side that Carrick likes, and they are completely the opposite. You know, Bergzorg will stay outside, Borges will invert. With this iteration, McGree's the one who comes inside, and Engel is the one who stays out wide. As was, of course, still at the 10, Lath was still up front with no other striking options available, but as we thought might be the case, he did bring in Isaiah Jones for this one, giving Ben Doak a rest, which I was completely, fine with. Ben Doak's played so many minutes, and I think it benefited him because he come on second half and he looked really, really fresh. However, first half wasn't a great half of football in general by either side, to be honest with you. Boro didn't start very well at all. I think for the first 15 minutes, on FootMob, you'll be able to see if you're watching this on YouTube, the first 25 minutes, it was all Hull, really. it was all Hull without massive pressure put on Borough's goal, but it was Hull possession in Borough's half. We almost walked ourselves into trouble very early on with a dodgy Rav Vandenberg pass out from the back that gifted it straight to Hull's attackers. But as I thought pre-match, as I said in the preview, with Hull's really blunt attack, the only way they were going to score against Boro was if we gifted them something. And although in the first half we nearly did and we tried our best to, as I sort of thought, they weren't going to carve us open creatively as long as our defence stayed due diligent and they were composed, they didn't make mistakes, and they just kept solid, and that's what they did, really. You know, it felt like we were under a bit of pressure first half, but Hull never really troubled Tom Glover at any point. They had a shot from outside the area, which was a bit sketchy, because we've seen so many times Boro sit off players and allow them to shoot from range, and we've seen a lot of screamers go in the past. Luckily, this one whistled wide of the post, but I think it was more so Boro not getting going in the first half. You know, Hull did well. They defended really well. I will give it to Hull. First half, I thought they pressed incredibly well. They defended really well. They made it very, very difficult for Boro's better players to get a grip of the game. Azaz was in and out of it. Our midfield was really struggling. Our midfield was quite poor in the first half, I've got to be honest. Barlasser was all right. Hackney was all over the shop. His passing was off. His touches were absolutely all over the place. But yeah, we just weren't quite connecting. We looked a bit disjointed. We looked a bit slow, a bit ponderous. The tempo was too slow. And we never really created all that much. We had fits and starts where we had moments in the first half, but nothing really all that concrete. You know, Riley McGree had a great chance. He turned from the left-hand side, cut on his right, had a shot from quite far out that was well saved by the goalkeeper. I don't know if Finn Azaz might have had an attempt on goal as well, if I remember right. I know we did play Lath in at one point, and he was unable to finish. He shot straight at the goalkeeper. But yeah, other than the Azaz chance, which come from Isaiah Jones nicking the ball off one of their centre-backs, we didn't actually create all that much, and I felt like we were getting into our stride a bit towards the end of the first half. We were starting to pin Hull back, starting to camp in their half and play the ball around with a little bit more zip, but we still didn't really create anything. And we went into half-time 0-0, and it was a bit of a flat first half, a bit of an underwhelming first half. You know, the whistle probably came at a good time for Hull, I would say. Boro were building up a degree of momentum, but it was very slow momentum, and as I say, we still weren't really testing their goalkeeper all that much. However, the second half was a different Boro. We come out, I don't know what was said in the dressing room, but Boro come out like a team possessed in the second half, quite honestly, and it was absolute dominance up until, and the momentum bar here in FootMob tells you the whole story, up until the 80th minute and the 85th. They had a 5-minute spell where we were under it, and you'll see all this in the vlog I did, because you can see it all playing out. But from the start of the second half up until the 80th minute, it was Boro pressure over and over again. We were playing the ball around much quicker. The pace was much better. The tempo was much better. The passes were much more accurate, finding their mark. And we were creating chance after chance after chance. I think we had free kicks, corners, crosses. Hackney hit the post. Bergsorg had a shot that was brilliantly saved low to the goalkeeper's left. Azaz had another effort with his left foot that was saved by the goalkeeper. You felt like between the 45th and the 80th minute, it was just an onslaught of Hull's defence, really. And again, they deserve immense credit because, as I said in my preview, they might be a very blunt defence, but a very blunt attack, but they're a more than good, solid defence in the Championship, and they showed that. You know, they boxed their midfield and defence, they kept it very close together, they tried to plug as many passing lanes as they could, and for all intents and purposes, it looked like they were going to get out of this with a point, and that was all down to their very good defence. And as I say, from the 80th minute to the 85th, they actually had a really good spell themselves, where I was worried we were going to see the ultimate typical Boro script play out, and they were going to end up snatching the game despite being absolutely battered for the entirety of the second half. And it led to a few crosses and corners, and Boro did have to defend well at times just to make sure they didn't create any big chances, but we weathered that mini storm, and from the 85th minute onwards, we got right back on it, and it felt like we were just going to play out another 0-0, and this was going to be another one to add to the long old list this season of what could have, should have been. And another 2 points dropped when, again, teams around us dropped points. Blackburn drew. Although it's a good draw at Leeds, they still dropped points. Watford lost as well. So a great chance for Boro to go up to 5th. And it just felt like, of course, when the chips are down, we just couldn't find a way like the better teams normally would. But then we did. And in the 93rd minute, 2 of Michael Carrick's substitutes combined, and he deserves immense credit for that, and I'll discuss the performances of the players in a bit, but 2 of Boro's subs combined. Bergzorg picked it up, wide left. To be fair, given Hull's brilliant defending, they won't be happy with this because they just sat off more and more. Kamara, who was their right-sided winger, didn't engage with Bergzorg at all. He was allowed to carry the ball 20-30 yards right into Hull's box, and he slides it across into the perfect area. And Alex Gilbert, who come on for Finazaz, slides through and sidefoots it into the corner. And as you will see from my vlog, the away end went absolutely balmy. I lost my voice. I went crazy. There were bodies everywhere. It was an unbelievable moment. I mean, of course, personally, for me, having went to so many away games and thinking I was seeing the same old script over and over again as I have done before, and I was going to come away yet again disappointed, not just for myself, but for the team. Another massive opportunity missed, another massive 2 points dropped. The relief that came out of, I think, the fans, the players, I mean, the reaction, you saw the reaction from the touchline. You barely ever see Carrick and his backroom team as animated as that. This goal meant so much in the grand scheme of things, and it's a ginormous win for Boro. It really, really is. It's one we absolutely deserved, and it felt like a moment. You know, I said in the Burnley review I did a few days ago, if we'd have nicked that game, it might have felt like the catalyst. This feels like it could be the catalyst now. You know, it was a big, big moment. We had them when we got promoted last time with Nugent, header, ironically against Hull, the Forshaw goal against Reading. There's moments where you feel like the season can turn, and we're hoping that this could be one of them. Honestly, I don't have the words to describe how joyous and momentous and brilliant and beautiful that moment was when that goal hit the back of the net. It was a joy to be in that away end, and what a great night it was. Absolutely fantastic. And as I say, based on Boro's second half performance, absolutely what we deserved from the game. And we come away from Hull, albeit in the most dramatic of circumstances. We got the 3 points we deserved, and 93rd minute winner, there's probably no better way of winning it really, is there. Looking at the stats though, you can see Boro's dominance really, especially second half. 69% possession to Hull's 31. We didn't actually muster a total of 1xG, but we still had far more than what they did. 17 shots to their 7, 6 on target to their 0. We limited them to no shots on goal, which I think is credit to our defence, of course, but it is what we sort of expected from Hull and their very weak attack in the league right now. And the one big chance we got, we converted, which is huge for us. It really, really is. And talking of the performances out there, I think it's hard to judge some. You know, Tom Glover didn't have anything to do really, but, you know, he was there. He played the ball around from the back, did well, I guess. The defence did well too, I would say. You know, there were periods to which Hull were putting us under a little bit of pressure, and I thought they stood up to it really, really well. Dykesteel did well on the right, carried the ball forward really well at times as well. Fry and Rav, absolutely solid. Engel did all right as well, you know, given his the fact he's not played much this season. He kept the width on the left-hand side. I still would like to see it, you know, a little bit more from him going forward, attacking-wise, and his delivery still, I don't think, is quite at it. But, yep, him and McGree, I thought it was nice to see them two back on the left. McGree was all over the place, you know, floating around, trying to make things happen. Looked good, was doing the usual McGree stuff, and had a great effort saved in the first half. Thankfully, the midfield had a much better second half, because I thought first half, they just weren't quite connecting the dots, and Hull were pressing them and intercepting the passes and getting on top of our midfield, and I don't think we were quite quick enough, sharp enough. As I mentioned, the passing was off. Thankfully, second half, they both picked it up and were much more influential on the game and the amount of chances we created in the end. As for the other attackers, Azaz, I thought, had a few good opportunities in the game. I thought they were another side who marshalled him pretty well. at times, but he still had a fantastic influence and could have had a goal or two himself. And I thought Jones did well too, down the right-hand side, first half. Could have had a penalty. There was a questionable penalty call with him in the first half, but he provided a really good threat, albeit I think when the game was starting to drop, Doak come on and did really well, and we'll discuss the subs in a moment. And Latilath was in and out of the game, really. Didn't have too many opportunities. Had a shot first half that was saved, but didn't have too many other chances in fairness. But the subs are where the game was won for Boro, and I was surprised to see Michael Carrick make changes when he did. We normally don't see him make changes until the 75th minute, but for once he was kind of proactive, and we were saying this in the away end. I was sat next to me mate Chris, and we were both saying, around the 60th minute, 65th minute, we were absolutely all over Hull, but it felt like we still needed to just turn the screw that little bit more, just to force the issue, because it really felt like going into that final 15 minutes, 10 minutes, that big wave of dominance that Boro had came and gone, and the window of opportunity to win the game had shut, and I felt like in that spell, that was where we had Hull on the ropes, and we had to find the knockout blow. We had to make a change to ensure we put them down while we had them down, and we had them out. It was good to see him make changes on the 69th minute. As I say, no surprise for me at least that both the left-sided players changed at the same time, because they just offer different things and work well in different ways. But I was glad he brought Ben Doak on with 20 minutes to go. It wasn't anything against Jones's performance. I thought Jones did great, but Ben Doak just gives us that extra little bit of injection of pace and drive and directness in that final third. And when you're a full-back, the last thing you want is Ben Doak coming on fresh with 20 minutes to go. And I thought he was an absolute nightmare, did really, really well. And then Gilbert as well, coming on for Azaz with a few minutes left. What a big moment for Alex Gilbert. Delighted for him, He's arguably playing behind the most informed player in Boro's team, and who was the most informed player in the Championship right now. So he's got probably the hardest job of any player to get into Boro's team. So, he's been patient, he's bided his time, he's had the odd injury. We've seen at the back end of last season him start to really come good. So to see him get a goal and win the game and have that moment, absolutely outstanding for him. So I was delighted for Alex Gilbert. I really, really was. And the reason why it was a big win is because it puts Boro up to 5th. And again, there's still a niggly part of me that looks back at the 3 draws we've just had, and I think we should be a little bit closer to 4th. Obviously, Sunderland got a big win over Sheffield United. Otherwise, the gap might have been 5 points or maybe even 4. So there's still quite a big bridge to cross between us and the top 4. But I've always said I just want to be in the playoffs comfortably at this point. And there's still a lot of work to do. We have capitalised though on Blackburn and Watford and their drop-off of late. Watford have lost 3 in 4. Blackburn have not won in 4 as well. West Brom have sort of been up and down. So again, Boro could have been more comfortably in the top 6 than what we are. But we're in there, and that's been the story of our season, really, hasn't it? We're in there, but not quite comfortably enough. So I would love it if we could now just put our foot down and build a gap to 6th and 7th, because Blackburn are still only 1 point behind us with a game in hand. Let's not forget, and Watford have that game in hand too, albeit Boro's goal difference is far superior. So just to make sure things just get a little bit easier, I would love nothing more than Boro to get themselves a little bit more comfortably in the playoffs in the next few weeks. And if we can try and put pressure on Sunderland, I'd love us to do that. But we'll see. 7 points is quite the gap to make up. But for now, this was a fantastic win. One we had to get, one we deserved to get. And thankfully, I'm relieved and overjoyed to see that we did. And to have been there myself personally just made it even sweeter. So let me know your thoughts on this incredible win for the Boro, whether you were there in the away end alongside myself or whether you were watching it at home. Whether you're a Boro fan, Hull fan, neutral, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, smash a like on YouTube to support the video and the channel out, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you choose to listen to these over on your chosen podcast providers, there are links in the description for you to do just that. But if not, do check this over on your chosen podcast provider and give me a like and a rating over there as always. And as I say, there will be a matchday vlog dropping soon where you can see all this happen from my perspective in the flesh and the absolute limbs at the end. They were sensational, let me tell you. So make sure you check that out here on YouTube. But until then, do take care. A lot of content coming, a huge turnaround very, very quickly, of course. There will be a preview of the Cardiff game coming as well by Friday. So check that out too. Lots going on. Thank you, for your support so far. What a great start to 2025. And I'll see you all in the next one.